Alrighty, hello everybody and welcome to our webinar today. So today's webinar is titled From Record to Reemployment, a Guide to Job Hunting with a Criminal Record. So before we get started, I just want to go over a little bit about the panel on your screen that you most likely will see. There is an orange button there if you do want to close that out, but I do recommend keeping it up if you do have any questions, because you can insert those questions throughout the presentation, or you can wait till the end when we have a short Q&A with our speaker. And just to let you know, this is being recorded, so it will be on our website as well as in the follow-up email, but it will not, the slides in this will not be sent out. And then also just to note, this is going to be about 30 minutes or so, and again, there will be a short Q&A at the end. So a little bit about diversity jobs. Since we redesigned our website, we have things like community pages. We have job fairs and events that you can sign up for. Some are virtual, some are in person. And then we also have blogs and career advice that is updated almost daily, as well as diversity insights and then other webinars. So any previous recorded webinars are there on demand. And then we also have any of our upcoming webinars that will be up on there when they are available. So today we are joined again by Dorenda Hamarlund. Thank you so much for joining us, Dorenda. Once again, I should say. So a little bit about Dorenda. Dorenda Hamarlund is a workforce development specialist for Pennsylvania Corrections, or PADOC. In this role, she promotes workforce development for inmates and reentrants, both within corrections and to external partners. The position was implemented to foster meaningful learning opportunities and sustain employment and reduce their chance of recidivism. Dorenda is the single point of contact for outside employers, community colleges, training programs, and unions who wish to partner with corrections. Dorenda joined the PADOC in February 2017 after 17 years with the California Department of Corrections. Dorenda has extensive experience in implementing training and certifications for inmates and working with outside organizations and companies to increase employability skills within corrections. And then my name is Josh Subchek. I'm the Associate Field Marketing Manager here with Circa, and I will be moderating on the back end. So I will be off camera for a little bit, and I will come back during the Q&A to monitor that for Dorenda. So thanks again, Dorenda, and hi and welcome.
Thank you so very much for having me again. I definitely appreciate it. And I love being able to share this information with everybody again.
Absolutely.
Okay, so I'm just going to go ahead and kick it off. As Josh said, thank you. I am Dorenda Hamarlund. I am the Workforce Development Specialist with the Pennsylvania State Department of Corrections. A lot of the information I'll share with you today will pertain to Pennsylvania, at least with inside our DOC, what we do to get inmates job ready. But a lot of it also is good information just to know post-release and how you can go ahead and benefit, and tips and tricks and tools that you can use to advocate for yourself to get a job, or if you have a criminal history, how you can advocate for yourself to get a job. So a little bit about my role and what I do. A lot of what I do is I educate the public, employers, other Commonwealth agencies on what we do inside the DOC. Unfortunately, a lot of the public really has no idea what goes on behind the walls inside our state prison system. I do a lot of panels, presentations, podcasts, webinars, just like this. I also work with employers directly to fill their workforce needs. And by sharing what we do inside our prisons, I'm able to make sure that what we are doing to get inmates job ready is up to date and relevant to what employers' needs are right now. Because we don't want to train inmates in something that is obsolete or outdated. So by having that conversation with employers, it really helps to make sure that we are getting the inmates as job ready as possible pre-release. So a little information about unemployment. The national unemployment rate right now is 3.9%. That was as of October 2023. In Pennsylvania here, it's 3.4%. So it's actually a little bit lower. It has not been this low since I believe 1976. So any of you that were born after 1976, you've never seen the unemployment rate in Pennsylvania this low before. And it just seems to keep going down. Same thing with the national rate. What that means is there are a lot more job opportunities than there are job seekers. For instance, I was at an event a couple weeks ago and here in Pennsylvania, and they talked about how there were 400,000 job openings, but only 200,000 people currently unemployed. Do the math. Where are those other 200,000 employees coming from? That is where employers need to start looking outside the box. They need to start looking at their policies and what they will and will not hire for. And what that means is that people with criminal records seem to be the next choice for, going ahead, and maybe they should start looking at that population a little bit closer. So it starts off with, what do employers say that they want? So we went out and we talked to employers, and I'm big on, we don't know what we don't know. So this is the best way to educate you, is to hear it directly from the employers. They told us what they want from entry-level applicants. And the first thing that they talked about was career awareness, knowing what you actually have to do in an industry. So for instance, if you're going to work in the construction industry, you should know that you're going to be climbing ladders, working in the dirt, in the mud, the sun, the rain, and just understanding what that job entails. If you're going to be a customer service representative, you're going to be working with the public. You might be on the phone a lot, sitting. So just understanding that, that was the biggest thing that employers really wanted to make sure that applicants were aware of. The second thing was a little bit of hands-on experience, because I'm going to be honest with you, employers are going to train you to be how they want you to be, how they want you to work. So you can come in knowing how to do the job, but they're going to want to train you to do the things the way that they want you to do it. But at least having that little bit of hands-on experience is really helpful. What I usually say is, when I do this with inmates in our prisons, is I say, think about a juggling circus clown. As far as the career awareness, things that you should know. As a juggling circus clown, you should know how to put on clown makeup, walk around in big shoes, wear a red nose. But the biggest thing that you should know is how to juggle, and understand that you are going to need to juggle in that job. As far as the hands-on experience, maybe you only know how to juggle 2 items right now, but you're willing to learn and have the ability to learn to get up to 3, 4, 5 items to juggle. So that's just a goofy, example of talking about those two things. The third thing is the soft skills or career readiness skills. And these are more, those other two things I just talked about, the juggling, climbing ladders, those are the hard skills in a job. The soft skills are more the career readiness, the feel good, you know, parts of a job. So when we talked about it, I'm going to go in depth for each of those three things and how we at the DOC went ahead and prepare inmates for that job, or for jobs. So the first thing was that career awareness piece that employers said that they wanted. ONET Online is actually a great resource if you've never been there. Doing the interest profile, if you're not quite sure what you want to be whenever you grow up, or maybe you're stuck and you want a new job, going on there and filling out the interest profile, it only takes a couple minutes, is a great opportunity to find out what your interests are and what job opportunities are available truly based on your interests. It gives you all of your job duties, your skills, knowledge, tasks, and abilities. It also provides you some information on any training opportunities, wage information, employment trends, and some job openings. So if you have not gone to ONET, I highly suggest that you go and at least check out the website. The next thing inside our DOC, what we did is we created a Pathway to Success course. It's a 1 semester course. It's about 60 hours, and there's 11 modules. And as you can see, module 1 is ONET interest assessment. It's the very first thing that we do with them in this class, is we want them to know what their interests are and what jobs are available. At the end of this course, they're able to create a career plan. And what they do is it's a career pathway plan for where they should start in a career and where they want to end. And we don't want to just look for jobs. We really do want a career where there is advancement within employment. And so this class helps them learn what they should do while they're inside to get job ready, what they need to do when they're released to obtain that employment. but it's a great resource. We were actually able to create this in 2018 thanks to some career pathways funds that we received from the U.S. Department of Education. So the next part was that hands-on experience. That's the thing is employers really do just want a little bit of that hands-on piece. So how do we ensure inmates are job ready any step of incarceration, and how can we assist employers with their workforce needs and show them the benefit of hiring our population? And here's the thing, here in Pennsylvania, I cover the whole state at 67 counties. That's a large population. And so what I try to do is by educating the public and other people on what we do inside the DOC and how it's beneficial to employers to hire somebody with a criminal record, I figure that's a great way for you to go and advocate this for yourself. Everything I share with you today is there's no secret squirrel information. It's all public knowledge. And please go out and use it and show the world why they should hire you, even if you have a criminal record or despite your criminal record. So inside the prisons, we have inmate employment. Our prisons are run like little cities, just in like a lot of areas. So our inmate our prisons, we have staff that work and do a lot of stuff. They do the maintenance, they do the landscaping, the day-to-day operations, the cooking, the cleaning, all that. But we also have inmates that work alongside our staff, and they're gaining that inmate employment work experience. And that is so beneficial. And that's the biggest thing I want to make sure that you understand is that if you were incarcerated, any work that you had while you were incarcerated, put that on a resume. That is work experience. An employer definitely wants to see that. It doesn't matter if it was behind the wall or anything. It's work experience. It's better than saying you did nothing for 4 years. So it might not be the job you want, but you can learn something from it, and that's a big key. And one of the things I always talk with our inmates is I say, look, you could have been a block worker or a janitor, but you learned job skills that you can put on a resume. If you went to school, put that on your resume. Don't keep off your incarcerated employment from your resume and applications. It is key to put that on there. So this is a little bit of information about that soft skills, career readiness skills. Here's some examples of it. I said it was more the touchy-feely. It's reliability, communication, problem solving, teamwork is a huge one. Active listening is a big one. Integrity. And here's the thing is that at the time when we talked to employers, and I should have told you guys, this was pre-COVID that we went and talked to employers on what they want. This truly was what they wanted. This was a big thing, were those career readiness soft skills, learning how to work with other people, whether it's customers, with fellow employees, the supervisor. That was really important to employers. And like I said, that was all pre-COVID. And then things sort of changed a little bit after COVID. There's another one, decision making, attention to detail. So then COVID hit. World kind of changed. Companies shut down, people stopped working, and for whatever reason, since COVID, and everything's opened back up, employers are not seeing the number of employees to come back to work as they thought they would or that they expected. And there's a lot of reasons for that, whether it's people received stimulus checks and they were able to pay down their debt and they no longer needed to work at the companies they were working at before, or maybe two-income households went down to one income because they were able to pay off debt. A big thing is just numbers. Baby boomers are retiring in a fast rate right now, and we just don't have enough people born in the United States in the last 20 years to fill that, big increase of people leaving. And employers are hurting. Another statistic I heard a couple weeks ago is that the average age for a manufacturer worker right now is 56 years old. 56. They're on their way out too, probably. And we don't have enough people trained in manufacturing to fill those needs. So a lot of vocational training is high in demand, apprenticeships is high in demand, and I really do encourage you that if you're interested in that information, please, or those sort of skills, please go and do that. Um, but what do employers say that they want now? So post-COVID, it's pretty simple what they said they want. Remember I showed you those, oops, pushing the wrong button there. Step one, show up. Honestly, employers say if you could just show up, they would love it. And the second thing, a pulse. It's that easy right now. If you have a pulse and are willing to show up, you're pretty much guaranteed a job. And I'm not talking jobs at flipping burgers for minimum wage. I'm talking jobs that are careers, 17, 18, 19, $20 an hour, benefits day one. Really great opportunities to get your foot in the door at companies that maybe in the past have never had that door even cracked a little bit for you. So, but if you're willing to show up and have a pulse, you pretty much have a job. Um, but the biggest part after that is, well, how do I interview? How do I get that job? The biggest thing is your conviction hanging over your head. You know, um, some places here in Pennsylvania have things called ban the box, where employers cannot ask you about your criminal history until they've offered you a job offer, a conditional job offer. That might be at other places around the United States too. In theory, I think it sounds great in theory. Unfortunately, what happens is you go through the process, and if you've never um, disclosed your background because they've never asked, you might get to a part where they have now seen your background, and unfortunately, now they can't hire you because you've never disclosed it before. So, I'm going to give you a few tips on how to interview with a criminal record, what you can do to hopefully set yourself up for success for that. The first thing I like to call this the 30-second commercial or an elevator speech. This is just a sample of one, and this was not my sample. This is actually from, I think it was another DOC, Indiana Department of Corrections. I got this from a gentleman there that worked. And the biggest thing about your 30-second commercial is the purpose of it is for you to address your conviction. You bring it up. But that's not the whole focus of it. It's the purpose, but it's not the focus. The focus of your 30-second commercial should be, I made a bad choice. However, despite that bad choice, I did A, B, C, D, and this is why I would be a benefit to you and your company. Okay. I want to make sure that I make sure that you guys understand that. The employer doesn't need to know every charge that you had, every conviction, how much time you did. Um, they don't need to know all that. Now, they may ask you questions after you do that, but the biggest thing is that they don't need to know this part up front. What they need to know is that you are acknowledging your criminal conviction. So you're putting it out there for them, but then despite that, you're telling them why they should still hire you. And that is where the focus should be on this 30-second commercial, that despite that conviction, you've done all this other stuff to get job ready and to make you a benefit, um, and why they should hire you. My biggest thing that I can tell you is practice this 30-second commercial, write it down, practice it out loud with other people. If you want, you actually can add your 30-second commercial in written format when you apply for jobs. So that way you don't have to say, oh, we'll discuss later at an interview. I've actually had some employers recently tell me that they do not like that. If you put on your application, when they ask about your criminal history, we'll discuss at interview, they're actually just setting those applications aside. They're not even proceeding with them. In the past, that's what employers told us they wanted, was put on there, we'll talk later. That's actually not what they want now. They want to know up front. Yes, yes, I do. So if you could add your 30-second commercial in writing to your application or your resume, that would be really great. So then the employer knows up front, and then you don't even have to do it in person. So that's a great time that you can do this commercial. If you don't have the opportunity to do that, doing it at the interview, preferably earlier than later in the interview process. I prefer to do it up front. As soon as you walk in, ask them for 30 seconds of their time. And here's the biggest thing. At the end, when you ask them if you can share it with them and you share it with them, one of two things is going to happen. One, they're going to say, thank you so very much, have a seat. Or two, which is the not so great thing. Two is, oh, sorry, we weren't aware, we can't, interview you for this job. Regardless of what happens, be gracious, be professional, thank them for their time. And if it happens to go the second way, which is we can't hire you, we can't interview you, thank them and walk outside. Now, when you get outside and get to your car, you can be as frustrated and as upset as you want. However, you want to be professional with them because you never know. There actually might be another job in that company that you are eligible for that they might remember you for, and they might call you back. You want to be remembered for being professional, not for being the guy that threw a chair out the window, you know, if we're not being interviewed. So just think about that a little bit. So let's talk a little bit more about some interviewing tips. When you're doing your 30-second commercial, make sure that you let them know that you take responsibility for your offense. Employers have been telling me daily they want to hear it from you. They don't want to see a rap sheet. They don't want to read Google, to find out what you did. They want to hear it from you. They want your story. That is by far the most thing that I hear from employers. Practice answering these types of questions in a mock interview if you get a chance, or just talking out loud, especially reading your 30-second commercial. Because you could write something down and it looks great on paper, but then whenever you read it out loud or you start practicing it, you realize, ooh, maybe that doesn't sound so great, or it's too long, or it's too detailed. So, try to do that. And the biggest thing that I told you before is don't lie, deceive, or be dishonest, and you do not need to go into detail about your offense, but just be honest. So you get the job interview. Despite all that, you get the job interview. So there's some do's and don'ts about personal appearance and dress. I'm not going to read all these for you. The biggest thing I can tell you is what's nice is, you want to dress for the job that you're going for. So if you're going to a construction site, you don't need to wear a suit and tie and dress shoes. But maybe you're not quite sure what to wear for the job interview. It's okay to call them. It is okay. And at the very bottom of this page here, it talks about it. And you can call the hiring manager, or not the hiring manager. You can ask to go to human resources and you can just say, hey, I have an interview with Bob in the sales department for the position of a retail assistant. Could you tell me what an appropriate dress for your company would be? It's okay to do that. Um, I'd rather you do that than show up, not prepared for the job that you're interviewing for. But these are some other just tips and tricks for interviewing. That's always good to have. So the biggest thing is, where are the resources? What can you do? How to get these jobs? How to get prepared? Well, there are some barriers to employment, unfortunately. And these aren't barriers just for those that have been formerly incarcerated. A lot of people actually have these barriers, but these just happen to be the top barriers that I find working inside the DOC. The big one is transportation. Whether or not you have a driver's license, you don't have a driver's license that's valid, or you don't have a vehicle, or maybe you live somewhere that doesn't have public transportation, that's a barrier. And if you can't get to work, then that's going to be a problem. So, one of the things that I talk to employers about when I do talk to them about their job needs is I share with them these barriers and I say, hey, if there's any way that you and your company can assist with these barriers, that would be great. Whether it's offering a stipend for, bus tokens, whether it's offering carpools, or ride share opportunities. So I do share with them that there are some barriers that our population does face. The next thing is childcare. This really came about during COVID. If any of you guys have children and you realize that during COVID, all the childcare shut down, what do you do? And childcare is really hard right now to find openings, and the cost of it is huge. There are some resources I know here in Pennsylvania to assist with that. So I would say if you get a chance, check your local areas and see if there are any assistance that are available for you with the childcare. The next thing is identification. I'm going to be real with you guys. Unless you have your I-9 documents, Social Security card, photo ID, you are not going to get a legal job. And I say a legal job because a lot of people can go out and hustle and work, but we want legal jobs. And in order to do that, you do need those I-9 documents. We're fortunate here in Pennsylvania in our State Department, State Department of Corrections, in our prisons, we actually do have agreements in place where our inmates are able to get their birth certificates, photo ID, or driver's license renewal, and their social security card pre-release. Some of our counties here in Pennsylvania are working on that also. But the big thing is that utilize any resources that you have, because if you don't have those documents, there's no way. And everything else I tell you right now is there's no point to it, because until you have those documents, unfortunately, you're not going to be able to get a job. Housing is a big one. Unfortunately, a lot of landlords and complexes don't want to lease or rent or allow people with criminal convictions in their housing. So unless you're living with somebody that owns their home, it's really difficult. So housing is a big issue that we have in Pennsylvania, and I'm sure that is a big issue everywhere. But these are barriers that I do want to point out that I do share with employers in any way at all that they can assist. I try to get them to help out. So there are some other great resources that we do have that are available. There's the America's Job Centers. They're career one-stop centers here in Pennsylvania. They're called PA Career Link. It's a great opportunity and a great resource to go. They offer workshops, they offer training, they offer job job searches. It's all free, which is fantastic. So I highly suggest, if you have not gone to your local Career One Stop or America's Job Center, get on that now. As soon as you get off of this webinar, look them up, go there. They also have funding that's available for people that are formerly incarcerated that they can assist with training. And so that is something that you want to definitely look into also. Parole agents. A lot of people think, oh no, parole agents are not a resource. They are a fantastic resource. Our agents know what's going on in the community. And so they are a huge resource both to you and to the employer. The next thing are reentry coalitions. Here in Pennsylvania, we have 67 counties, and we have over 30 reentry coalitions in over 30 of the counties. And what that is that's a great opportunity where the community comes together, where it's county prison systems, the state, community providers, those with lived experience, other resources come together, and they form a coalition and see what they can do to help the reentry population in the county. I'm not sure if these are available in other states or not, but I know we do have them here in Pennsylvania. So that is another option and another resource that you can look for. 211 also is another great resource that we have here for any resources that you need of any kind throughout the state. So here's the big thing. Remember I mentioned earlier, I want you to go and advocate for yourself. I'm now going to share with you what I tell employers the benefits of hiring you are. And like I said, nothing secret. So here are the benefits. Parole support. As I said, they're not just a support to you, they're a support to the employer, because the employer needs support also, and you need support from the parole agent. So think of them as a support, not a hindrance or a barrier. Experienced trained workforce. Here in Pennsylvania, our prisons offer 25 different vocational trainings with nationally accredited certifications. We have 19 correctional industries. So we have inmates that are actually going through and getting certified in vocations and working. So for instance, we have an HVAC program. If an inmate goes through our HVAC program, our goal while they're incarcerated is to get them working with our maintenance crew on the HVAC systems in the prison. So just because they have a criminal background, they could be coming out of prison with an HVAC certification and hands-on experience. That's some things that employers don't realize. So that's a huge benefit. Another one is Work Opportunity Tax Credit, or WOTC, and federal bonding. These are opportunities for an employer that they're eligible for if they hire somebody formerly incarcerated. The Work Opportunity Tax Credit is a tax credit that they are eligible for if they hire you within the first 12 months of release from prison. And that's for any employment. It doesn't matter if they're a mom and pop shop or a huge corporation. Federal bonding is actually a program that, these are both federal programs. The federal bonding is something that an employer is eligible for. Think of it like an insurance policy. It's for up to $5,000 for the first 6 months of employment, employing somebody formerly incarcerated. This is a great opportunity to get your foot in the door if they're really worried about hiring somebody with a criminal background. It's free, there's no premium, no deductible, only takes a few minutes on a phone call, and it's instantaneous. And unfortunately, a lot of employers do not utilize either one of these. Interestingly enough, I was on a call today with a large healthcare provider here in Pennsylvania. And when I mentioned WOTC to him, he said, "Oh yeah, we use that for our veteran employees and our TANF employees." I said, "You do know that if you hire somebody formerly incarcerated, you can get it too." He had no idea. So this is a great time to go and advocate for yourself. So for instance, if you and another um, person are both up for the same job, you have a criminal background, that other person doesn't. You guys have the exact same application, the exact same experience, everything, but you have a criminal background. Initially, the employer might lean more towards the person without the criminal background. However, if you share with them that if they hire you, they're eligible for these financial opportunities, that might give you a little leg up because if they hire the other guy, they're not eligible for them. But if they hire you, they're getting everything that they would get in the other guy, but they're also getting this tax credit and federal bonding opportunity. That's a huge benefit to an employer. I'm not going to go into this too much, but we do have community reentry parole agents in Pennsylvania here. These are parole agents that are on the outside. They work in the community and they are a huge assistance to our parole population. So again, this is just a really good screen just to remind you guys what's in it for them. When I say what's in it for me, I'm talking to employers because that's all they want to know. What are they getting from it? Well, here's the big thing. They're getting an experienced candidate. They can get somebody with industry certifications. They can get somebody that's a dedicated worker. That is the biggest thing I hear from employers is they said, "I can't believe how dedicated this person is. We really thought we were going to have trouble with them, but man, they work so hard. They're always up for overtime. We want to promote them. They stay. Retention is huge, which a lot of employers can't get people to stay in jobs these days, more or less even try to fill them. So if you're willing to be a dedicated worker and stay at a company, you have a great opportunity for a career. The tax credit, the free bonding, and then another thing is it's a reduction in recidivism and taxpayer dollars because by an employer hiring you, they're not paying for you to be in prison. So that's a savings. That's a win-win for everybody. So this is a quote from a book. It's called Untapped Talent. And this gentleman, actually, I met him at a conference recently, and I took my own little personal book that I was reading of his, and I took it in and got it signed. But I love this quote that he had in here. It says, "Since the day you entered prison or jail, you probably have felt that you are a burden to your family, a burden to your friends, to your community, to your country. You are not a burden. You are a resource. Our country is running out of the workforce we need to grow and prosper. The millions of people who, because of a criminal record, are not employed to the best of their potential are our best solution to this problem. This means you are a resource for your family, a resource for your friends, for your community, for your country, not a burden." And this is my contact information if anybody is interested in finding out more about what we do here in Pennsylvania or want to connect with me, directly. Here's my contact information. And did you take control, Josh, again?
Yes, I have control here.
Okay, I was gonna say, because I
And you
think
do too,
questions
yeah.
is my next. There you go. And any questions?
First of all, I want to thank you so much again, Dorenda. You are amazing and have such great information to share. I'm sure a lot of people here will be taking a lot of this information with them. So thank you again.
I hope.
Yes, they will. And I just want to open it up for questions. So again, if there are any questions, feel free to throw them into the question box. There are two in there right now.
Oh, great.
So we just have a little bit of time here. I will go through as many as we can. Um, so starting with the first one, somebody asked, do you have any advice about talking about a felony or misdemeanor in an interview? Do they matter or are they the same?
They they might matter depending on the job that you're going for. So here's the biggest thing I want to remind everybody is your conviction, whether it's misdemeanor, felony, it doesn't matter, cannot be used against you unless it relates to the job duties. Okay, I want to make sure everybody heard that. It cannot be used against you unless it relates to the job duties. So for instance, if you're going to apply to be a pizza delivery driver, probably aren't going to be hired if you have DUIs. Okay. So you just got to make sure that they don't line up with the job duties. Here's my biggest advice on that. Whether it's a misdemeanor or felony, I'd rather you err on the side of caution and just disclose what you have instead of them finding out later. So they might ask on your application, for instance, we have this a lot here in our prisons. They might ask on your application, have you been convicted of a felony in the last 7 years? Well, have you been incarcerated for the last 10 years? The answer would be no, right? Unfortunately, they're going to do a background check and maybe they'll see it. Or somebody will Google you. Google doesn't go away. Google lives on forever. So it would be better to address it than for them to find out later and you try to use that against you. So whether it's a misdemeanor or a felony, I say disclose. And that's just my suggestion. But do whatever you feel is right.
Right, and someone's asking for your contact information again, so I'm just going to keep this one up
Absolutely.
here.
No problem.
And we also have one that says, wonderful presentation, great info, and it will be able to assist my veterans with background. So just
Great.
wanted to
Thank
throw
you.
that out there too.
Thank you.
All right, so another question here. Should I still apply to jobs with criminal background checks listed on the job posting?
Absolutely. Definitely still
Easy.
apply. So I'm gonna tell you, the majority of employers, so pre-COVID, when I would ask employers about the criminal convictions that they cannot or will not hire for based on the job, they would usually come up with a list. Since COVID, probably 98% of the employers that I talk to now all say it's on a case by case basis. A lot of them are still doing background checks. A lot of employers are no longer doing background checks because they can't get people to pass them. So even if it says there's a background check, absolutely apply. And if you get a chance, put in there your 30-second commercial when you apply. And that's just going to address everything up front. And as I said in the 30-second commercial, you're going to tell them, even though you have that criminal background, they should still hire you, why you're still a benefit to them.
All right, so then we have another question here. Um, this is more of a yes or no, I'm assuming, but do you have a list of employers who are sympathetic to justice challenge individuals?
I actually do not. So that is one of the things that when I talk to employers, and I've been doing this now since 2017, and I have hundreds and hundreds of employers that I talk to. The biggest thing that I do tell them is I do not publicize who I work with. I do have some employers that are my public partners, but having that anonymity really helps them. We share it with our reentrants and our inmates, but we do not have an actual list of any. The reason for that is because a lot of employers don't want to be known as second chance friendly. Some do and don't have a problem with it. Unfortunately, a lot of employers still don't. They find that stigma. They don't want their customers to know. They don't want their fellow employee, their other employees to know. So unfortunately, I do not have a list. Now, you might be able to go online and Google and try to find some lists. I've seen some before of national companies, but even then, when I've looked at those lists, I know that the companies still don't hire or are
Mhm.
still really strict. So your best bet is just just apply everywhere because let me tell you, everywhere is hiring right now.
Yes, and I see it all over the place right now.
Yes.
All right, so let's see the next one here. How do you respond on applications if you had your records sealed?
Ooh, that's a good one. So I would almost take that back to the previous one where I said maybe you haven't been arrested in the last 7 years, but they still can find out. Um, as I said before, Google doesn't lie. Google does lie. Google is always there. Google doesn't go away. So you may have something that was sealed, or expunged or whatever, but there's still ways for them to find it. That's going to be a judgment call on you, whether you want to disclose it or not. Honestly, that is up to you. I mean, if it's sealed, then it's not there. That's nothing they can find on a background check. But that doesn't mean that they can't find it in Google possibly. So that would be a judgment call on your part.
All right, and I'm just gonna do you have time for two more?
Absolutely.
Okay, so we'll end with these last two here. In what industries have you found employment for clients who have a criminal record and no high school diploma or GED?
I love that question. Almost everywhere. Believe it or not, that is another thing that employers are dropping. Besides the background check, the requirement of GED, high school diploma, a lot of employers are actually dropping that now too. As long as you can read and write at usually like a seventh grade, fifth, seventh grade depends. Math skills depends on the job. Um, but most of the companies that I talk to do not require a GED or high school diploma. Again, that's another reason. Well, the reason is because they can't get people to apply, and
Hmm.
the more restrictions they put on who can and cannot apply, the fewer people, and they're already not getting enough people. So that example I did earlier, where I said there's 400,000 job openings and only 200,000 unemployed right now. If you take that unemployed and you start putting these restrictions, they can't have a felony conviction. They have to have a GED, high school diploma. They have to have a driver's license. That's just going to take that 200,000 even smaller.
Hmm.
So employers are realizing that. So with that, they've really gone back and looked at their policies and what their needs are, and what the requirements are. I mean, we even did that here in Pennsylvania. One of the very first things our new governor did was he removed the requirement that anybody from the Commonwealth had to have for certain employment had to have 2-year college degree. So there's just certain things that companies are definitely looking into these days.
All right, so then the last question here. To your knowledge, what job fields are more likely to hire justice challenge individuals?
Really, all of them. There aren't really any. The only ones that are really restrictive are any ones that have contracts with like federal governments. Sometimes they have restrictions and background issues to get you onto the job sites. Um, Truthfully, if it doesn't have anything to do with your conviction, none. Um, Manufacturing is huge. Construction is huge. CDL. Oh my goodness, if you have a CDL license, psh, you're golden right now. If you're willing to work hard, if you're really honestly, if you're just willing to show up, employers will hire you. There's really no specific industry. There's industries that are hurting. Manufacturing happens to be one of those in the very, very, very near future. Same thing with construction. We're going to be in a world of hurt in the United States when it comes to manufacturing and construction coming up, just because of the mass group of people that are leaving. We don't have enough people working in those fields. But honestly, all industries. If you're interested in it, apply.
All right, well, thank you again so much, Dorenda. And I
You're
hope
welcome.
that everybody enjoyed today's webinar, and maybe we'll have Dorenda again sometime down the line. But I hope everyone has a great holiday season, and thanks again for joining us.
Great. Thank you.
Thank you.